He was sitting in the back, always the back, not because he wanted to hide, but because that's where kids like him ended up, the ones who didn't raise their hands, the ones who turned in homework with more eraser marks than answers, the ones teachers stopped calling on after a while. His name was Marcus, 13 years old, skinny arms, worn-out sneakers, eyes that spent more time looking out the window than at the board. And Mrs. Patterson, she'd already decided. If you've ever felt invisible, hit that subscribe button, because this story, it's about to get loud. Mrs. Patterson taught 8th grade English, 23 years in the same classroom, same posters on the wall, same speech every September about potential and effort. But by October she could tell. She could always tell which kids were going somewhere and which ones weren't. Marcus was a wasn't. She didn't say it out loud at first, just little things. The way she'd pause half a second too long before handing back his essays. The way she'd sigh when he asked a question. The way she'd look at him during parent-teacher conferences with his mom sitting there in her hospital scrubs, still smelling like antiseptic from her double shift, and say things like, struggling to meet expectations and limited engagement. His mom would nod, tired, too tired to argue, and Marcus would sit there feeling smaller. It was November when she said it. The class was talking about future careers, one of those feel-good exercises teachers love. Go around the room, say what you want to be. Doctor, lawyer, engineer, teacher, the usual suspects. When it got to Marcus, he hesitated. He'd been thinking about it, actually. He liked building things, taking apart old electronics his neighbors threw out, putting them back together, sometimes better than before. Maybe something with technology, he said, quiet, like building computers or something. The room went silent for a second. Then Mrs. Patterson smiled, not a kind smile, the other kind. Marcus, she said, I think you need to be realistic about your future. She didn't stop there. Some students are academic, some are not, and that's okay. But you need to understand your limitations. With your grades, with your focus, you're looking at maybe community college if you're lucky. Manual labor, that's not a bad thing. Someone has to do those jobs. The class shifted, uncomfortable. I'm just being honest, she continued. You have zero future in anything requiring real intellectual effort. The sooner you accept that, the better. Zero future. He heard it. Everyone heard it. And something inside him cracked. Not in the way you'd think. Not tears, not anger. Something colder. Something that settles into your bones and changes the way you see yourself. The way you see the world. He didn't say anything, just nodded. But here's what Mrs. Patterson didn't know. Marcus went home that day and sat in his room for 3 hours. Didn't eat dinner. Didn't do homework. Just sat there. His mom knocked eventually, asked if he was okay. Yeah, he said. He wasn't. That night he made a decision. Not a loud one. Not some movie moment declaration. Just a quiet shift. A recalibration. If you're still watching, drop a like. Because what happened next, nobody saw coming. Marcus started staying after school. Not for tutoring. Not for extra help. He'd find empty classrooms and use the computers. Teach himself coding. Watch YouTube tutorials on programming. Read forums. Debug code until midnight on the library computers because his family couldn't afford internet at home. He stopped talking in Mrs. Patterson's class. Stopped asking questions. Turned in just enough work to pass. She probably thought she was right about him. Confirmation bias. It's a hell of a drug. But outside her class, he was building something. Freshman year of high school, he taught himself Python, then Java, then C++. He'd bike to the public library every day after school, 6 miles each way. His mom didn't know. She was always working. Sophomore year, he built his first app. Nothing fancy. A task manager for students. But it worked, and he put it online. Free. 12 people downloaded it the first week. By the end of the month, 4,000. Junior year, he started getting emails. People asking if he did freelance work. Small projects at first. $50 to fix a website. $100 to build a simple database. He said yes to everything. Learned on the job. Failed sometimes. Figured it out anyway. Mrs. Patterson never knew. She'd see him in the hallways sometimes, probably still thinking the same thing she always did. Senior year, everything changed. Marcus had been working on something bigger. a platform for connecting high school students with coding mentors, peer-to-peer learning. He'd been building it for 18 months, nights, weekends, before school, after school. He launched it in September. Within 2 weeks, 5,000 users. A month later, a venture capital firm in Silicon Valley reached out. They wanted to meet. He took the Greyhound bus, 14 hours, slept sitting up, showed up to their office in Palo Alto wearing the only button-down shirt he owned, still wrinkled from his backpack. The meeting lasted 20 minutes. They offered him seed funding, $250,000. He was 17 years old, but here's the thing, he didn't take it, not right away. He had one condition. I need to finish high school first, he told them, and I need to do it right. They thought he was crazy, walking away from $250,000 to finish senior year. But Marcus, he knew something they didn't. He wasn't doing this to prove Mrs. Patterson wrong. Not anymore. That stopped mattering somewhere around his 10,000th line of code. He was doing this because he'd found something that made him feel alive. Something that made sense when nothing else did. He graduated. Not top of his class, not even close. But he walked across that stage and his mom was there crying and Mrs. Patterson was there too, clapping politely, still not knowing. He never told her, didn't confront her, didn't send some dramatic email, just moved on. He took the funding after graduation, built his company, hired a team. By 21, his platform had over 2 million users. Schools were using it. Teachers were using it. Kids who felt invisible, they were using it. He sold the company when he was 23, $57 million. And here's where it gets interesting. He didn't buy a mansion, didn't buy a sports car, didn't post about it on social media. He started a foundation for kids like him. Kids in underfunded schools, kids whose teachers had already decided, kids who needed someone to believe in them, or at least give them the tools to believe in themselves. Free coding classes, free equipment, free mentorship. He called it Zero Future Foundation. Make sure you're subscribed because the next part, it's the one that'll stay with you. 3 years after he started the foundation, he got a letter from Mrs. Patterson. She was retiring, and she'd heard about what he'd done, what he'd built. She didn't apologize, not exactly, but she said she'd been thinking about that day in 8th grade, said she wished she could take it back, said she was wrong. Marcus read it twice. Then he wrote back. He told her he appreciated the letter, told her he hoped she enjoyed retirement, and then he said something that surprised even him. You weren't wrong about my grades, or my focus back then. You were wrong about what that meant, about what I could become. But honestly, or if you hadn't said what you said, I might not have pushed myself the way I did. I'm not saying you helped me, you didn't. But you showed me what happens when someone decides your story before you get to write it. And I decided I'd write it myself. He never heard back. But last year something happened. He was visiting a school in his old neighborhood, doing a talk for students. And one of the teachers approached him afterward. She'd been a student teacher under Mrs. Patterson. She remembered Marcus, remembered that day. She talked about you sometimes, the teacher said. Toward the end, before she retired, she said you were the student that taught her. She could be wrong. Marcus nodded, didn't say much, but as he left that school, he thought about 13-year-old him, sitting in the back of the class, feeling small, feeling invisible, and he thought about all the kids still sitting in those seats, still hearing versions of Zero Future from people who don't know, can't know, what's actually inside them. That's why he still does it, why he shows up to schools, why he funds programs, why he answers emails from kids at 2 a.m. asking if they're smart enough, good enough, capable enough, because someone's got to tell them they are, even if no one else does. Before you go, I need to ask you something. Have you ever had someone count you out before you even got started? Someone who decided your story without knowing you? Drop a comment and let me know. And if this hit you a certain way, subscribe. Because there are more stories like this. Stories about people who didn't let someone else's ceiling become their sky. Next video, we're talking about the girl who was rejected from every music school she applied to, and ended up composing the score for a film that won an Oscar. You're not going to want to miss that one.